Welcome back to Noir Alley, where once a week you noiristas come to check in with your parole officer. That's me, Eddie Muller. The analogy is apt because this week I've got a film about a parole officer and the ex-con in his charge. It's Shockproof from Columbia Pictures in 1949, starring Cornel Wilde as the upright lawman and Patricia Knight as the jailbird whose larcenous wings he aims to clip. The film is a singular mix of two unique talents, each of whom left a significant mark in movie history. The original story, or should I say yarn, is by Samuel Fuller, a personal hero of mine. He started his professional life as one of the youngest crime reporters in America, and by 1934 he was in Hollywood, selling original stories for B-movies, with gangs a specialty, gangs of New York, gangs of Chicago, and gangs of the waterfront among his early efforts. World War II interrupted his rapid rise. His first novel, The Dark Page, was published while Fuller was serving with the 1st Infantry Division, the legendary Big Red One. The book sold to the movies, and after he demobilized, Fuller, who's a very modest war hero, moved back to Southern California to resume his career. Surviving the D-Day landing at Normandy made navigating Hollywood a cinch for this natural-born storyteller. He had 3 spec scripts floating around Hollywood after the war, and the first one to sell was this one, originally titled The Lovers, until some genius in Columbia's marketing department went with this punchier, if inexplicable, new title. Not that Fuller cared. The sale of this script helped put him on course to becoming one of the most iconoclastic and influential writer, producer, directors of all time. The same year Shockproof was made at Columbia, Fuller directed his first feature, a low-budget Western called I Shot Jesse James. It would have been interesting to see Fuller direct his own script for Shockproof, but I sincerely doubt that at this stage of his career he could have done a better job than the guy Columbia assigned, the great Douglas Sirk. It's Fuller himself who applied that adjective to Sirk. Although born in Germany, Sirk was Danish. As a young man in the 1920s, he became one of the leading theater directors in Berlin during the glory days of the Weimar Republic. The early films he made for UFA Studios, Europe's version of Hollywood, made him a favorite of Joseph Goebbels, who became Hitler's minister of propaganda once the Third Reich took power. But Sirk fled the Nazis with his Jewish wife and ended up in Hollywood in 1941. His first Hollywood picture was Hitler's Madman in 1943. His sophisticated visual sense was applied to good costume dramas before Sirk made his contribution to the film noir movement, directing Lured, Sleep, My Love, and Shockproof, all in black and white, between 1947 and 49. All of them display Sirk's forceful but elegant style, although they gave no hint that he'd become the preeminent director of Technicolor melodramas in the 1950s. Under contract to Universal, Sirk created a string of films that artfully combined romantic longing with social critique, including Magnificent Obsession, All That Heaven Allows, Written on the Wind, and Imitation of Life. Shockproof isn't in league with those classics, but Fuller's gut-punch storytelling and Sirk's refined technique are a fascinating combination. We also get a look at downtown Los Angeles and nearby Bunker Hill, including the famed Bradbury Building, where parole officer Griff Murat, played by Cornel Wilde, has his office. Even without the story credit, you'd know this is a Sam Fuller script because the lead character's name is Griff. Fuller guys were always named Skip, Sandy, or Griff. The screenplay is by Helen Deutsch, who also wrote the scripts for The Seventh Cross and National Velvet, featuring supporting performances from John Barragray as the oily Harry Wesson and Esther Minciotti in her first film role as Mrs. Murat. Here is Sam Fuller's The Lovers, renamed Shockproof.